Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And Alabama has a problem in its prisons. It's got the row, and you know what I mean by the row. It's overfull. There's just too many of them, and they need to chivvy things along and start dispatching people. You know, getting them off the row in the proper way. I have to use these terms because YouTube has an algorithm that flags up if you say certain things or certain phrases. So I have to use other terms, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. For example, I won't be talking about the certain thing. I'll be talking about DP. The DP, where P stands for penalty. You understand, and hopefully, the row. You know what I mean. So we're talking about the row in a prison in Alabama. Now, there is on that row a prisoner who ended 3 people about 23 years ago. He was found guilty. He was given a D, sentence. And then he's been languishing on the row for 23 years. Now, Alabama want to chivvy this along. They want to get, clear the row. And so they're saying, oh, no, that's fine. We're going to give you the injection, which is their preferred method. And he's saying, no, on your books is another method called nitrogen hypoxia. And I elected to have that. I filled out the form and I gave it to you. And that's my elected method of dispatch. This has got nothing to do with his choosing how to leave us. This has got everything to do with him staying alive. Because although this method of dispatch is on the books, no one knows how to do it, or at least how to do it properly. And so anyone who has elected for it has yet to be given a date, because they have to work out how it's going to be done. And then there'll be other cases coming to court to say that it's, like I say, cruel, unusual treatment or some such thing. So this is nothing to do with the elected form of dispatch. It's a game this prisoner is playing, but it might backfire because the prison say they have lost the paperwork. They have no evidence of the paperwork. So it could well be that he will be getting an injection and he will be leaving us and the world won't mourn. But let's look at the article. Now, before we get into this, I will point out I'm not a lily-livered, tree-hugging, hand-wringing liberal. I actually do believe there are some crimes and some criminals for whom the DP is appropriate, or indeed in some cases desirable. But that's only because they are the most heinous crimes, and it would ensure that they were never committed again, at least not by the same people. So I'll leave that there, but we'll go into the piece. But I just want you to know that that's the angle I'm coming from. Anyway, Alabama prepares to end death row prisoner by nitrogen hypoxia later this month, but the technique has never been tried before, and with critics calling it human experimentation. Nitrogen hypoxia is supposed to cause the ending by replacing oxygen with nitrogen and has been authorised by Alabama and 2 other states. The technique has never been used with injection, which is the preferred method. In nitrogen hypoxia, the prisoner would breathe pure nitrogen, depriving his or her body of oxygen and causing asphyxiation. Its proponents argue it is a more humane method, but it cannot be ethically tested. Alan Eugene Miller is set to be ended later this month using the technique, but says the state lost his paperwork selecting the alternate method. They do like their triple names, don't they? Alan Eugene Miller, Lee Harvey Oswald, James Earl Ray. Funny thing. Anyway, he is designated to be ended by the injection, although a lawsuit has been launched. And there's a picture of him. Attractive fellow, isn't he? So Alabama could be ready to use a new untried method called nitrogen hypoxia to carry out the D sentence later this month, a state attorney told a federal judge on Monday. James Houts, a deputy state attorney general, told the US District Judge R. Austin Huffaker Jr. that it is very likely the method will be available for the ending of Alan Eugene Miller, currently set for the 22nd of September by injection. Again, I have to just cut certain words out for the YouTube algorithm. The final decision on whether to use this new method is up to Corrections Commissioner John Hamm. What? Not the John Hamm, surely. No, it can't be. It must be a coincidence of name. He said, and litigation is likely. John, for those of you, I'm thinking Mad Men, John Hamm. Anyway, Miller, a delivery truck driver, was convicted in the workplace endings that saw the end of Lee Holbrook, Scott Yancey and Terry Jarvis. Prosecutors said Miller ended Holbrooks and Yancey at one business, then drove to another location to end Jarvis. Each man was done multiple times. Jurors convicted Miller after 20 minutes of deliberation. That's not long at all. That means, straight away. And recommended a D sentence, which the judge imposed. Testimony indicated that Miller was delusional and believed the men were spreading rumours about him, including that he was gay. And he probably is. A defence psychiatrist hired for the trial found that Miller suffered from severe mental illness, according to courtroom documents, but also said that Miller's condition wasn't bad enough to use it as a basis for an insanity defence under state law. And so he had the big D sentence. And while injection is Alabama's primary method, the state in 2018 approved an untried method, nitrogen hypoxia, as an alternative amid mounting questions over the injection. Actually, I seem to remember at the time all the chemicals they got from the injection came from a British company. And they said, no, they realised what this was used for. They said, no, ethically, because we didn't have the DP in this country, they couldn't ethically supply them for the DP in a different country, and they withdrew them all. America actually had quite a problem getting hold of these chemicals, which is very odd considering that America's got quite a big chemicals industry. Anyway, in a federal lawsuit filed last month, attorneys argue Miller turned in a form selecting nitrogen, but that the state lost it, and they are seeking to block the injection from going forward. If the state had not lost Mr. Miller's form, Mr. Miller would otherwise be ended by nitrogen hypoxia, his attorneys wrote in the court filing seeking to block his ending by injection. Alabama has not yet developed a system for using nitrogen to carry out the endings, so the state isn't setting ending dates for inmates who choose that method. Miller signed a sworn statement saying he'd given the form to a corrections officer. So really what this is nothing to do with this man's choice. As I say, it's all to do with, because they're not doing it, I can stay awake, I can stay alive longer. Actually, no, well done Alabama, lose that. There's no stand-up, he can't prove he did it. He's just saying, he'll say anything. He would say that anyway, wouldn't he? He would say that to try and save his skin. And so, he doesn't have a hope in hell. And I think on the 22nd of September, he will no longer be with us. And I don't suppose anyone will even care. Anyone going to come up? Now, one can't blame him for trying. He's sitting on the row, and we all know that people are desperate. So I don't blame him for trying, but I do think that Alabama was stupid in putting this on the books without sort of understanding how to do it, and therefore allowing this loophole to exist. I think perhaps if they had to have an alternative method other than injection, my preferred method would be a little loop of string, if you get my drift. A little loop of string that suddenly is the only thing supporting you after the world falls out from beneath you. We won't be supporting you for very long. But that's just my choice. I think that's a fine choice, and one that has worked well for years. And of course it's very green because you can use the rope many times. No poisonous chemicals going anywhere. You know, in this era of green and taking care of the environment. That's the method, isn't it? Anyway, I shall round there. If you like what you hear and see on the channel, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications of future output. Leave a like, leave a comment. Please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, don't hang around, and goodbye.